The broadcast is live. As usual, I get a little bit nervous when that show up, but here we go. Episode 5 of Playmaker TV, and welcome to you, Jesper.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Of course. Are you feeling better now? Because you have been a bit down this last week.
Yeah, well, I got Corona again. I thought Corona was out, but apparently it's still could be in. So yeah, I got Corona last week, and I was sick for 3-4 days. So yeah, that was
on your vacation.
On my vacation as well, visiting my girlfriend. So that was a bit tough, but now I'm back. I'm healthy, so I'm very happy and very excited for tonight's episode.
Yeah, me too. We are gonna dive deep into the Damallsvenskan that finished this last weekend, actually, with the FC Rosengård as title winners again, second year in a row for the 13th time in total. And BK Häcken made it to the second spot after 9 straight wins after the Euros. Quite impressive, if you ask me, because that was not something people would have thought, I think.
No.
And then we have Linköping FC as third, which means that they are back at the top of the Damallsvenskan. So those 3 teams are the ones that gonna play Champions League next season. Very exciting.
Very exciting. And and in the bottom, Brommapojkarna managed to take that qualifying or playoff spot to remain in Allsvenskan. They were out, but then they won in Umeå, and then that was enough. Or
yes, it was a very exciting fight at the bottom of the table too. Actually, made the excitement live all the way. Maybe not for the final round in the top, because that was all decided. But we know that our league in Sweden is very interesting for the bigger European leagues at the moment, because we know there is a lot of talent, and the talent that have been raising their game this season, we are gonna show them tonight, right, Jesper?
Yes,
data,
we are.
I will say.
Yes, in data.
Yeah. We are going to use data from Playmaker as usual, and Playmaker AI is a football analysis platform created by Swedes with the head office, the main office in Sweden.
Exactly.
Important
office in
out.
Stockholm, and where most of or all of us except me sit, and then in Gothenburg where I sit at the office. So west and east coast in Sweden.
Yes, and we have the best players. I shouldn't say that you have chosen the player. This is the data talking. But
yes.
Let's hit it. Let's just dive into the good stuff and see, because here I'm sure people are watching this and are looking for players in certain positions to scout. This is going to be very interesting, and we actually talked about it just before we started to go live, that you can actually see on the data which players that might not play in Sweden for so many years more.
Yeah, exactly. I think when we took out the same numbers last year, there were a lot of those players that got sold and left the league. Filippa Angeldal.
Yeah, exactly. What players?
Filippa Angeldal to Manchester City in the middle of the season. Blackstenius, and then Rytting Kaneryd didn't leave. Had great numbers last season, but she stayed another half and played half of this season. But there are some examples of players, and we also had several more that I could continue to mention. But yes, so we're going to go through Damallsvenskan. We're going to go through the players that have played very well and that has stood out in different kinds of statistics. And we at Playmaker also have, since last year, we hand out prizes to the best players in the different positions and also the best player overall. And we don't have a jury that select these prizes. We base it on our algorithm, and we set a criteria for when we do this league prize that they should have played at least half of the season in minutes to be selected. But then the algorithm is talking. And we did it last year on the men's side in Sweden. We did it this year as well. And then for this year, we're very happy to do it on the women's side as well. So yeah, we can go through it. We start with the season 11. These are the best players in the season that the script took out in Damallsvenskan. So it shows a 4-3-3 formation. And then we got this 11, and it seems like the entire left pitch maybe plays on the same team. But if you read the text below the player name that is not bold, you can see which team they play for. Linköping and Rosengård having very similar backsides of their shirt. And it's our graphical designer, Anton Westerberg, who makes these visuals for us.
The shirts are a little bit
11s.
different if people are very careful when they look at them as well. You know,
yeah, exactly.
The little white straps on the Linköping shirts compared to Rosengård.
Yep, and the blue color is a little bit different, but they are both dark, so it's hard to see.
Yeah, I'm sure people will understand.
Yeah. So the 11, we have Melina Luck from Kristianstad in the back in the goal. She was. We did a half-season 11 that we posted on our forums, and a lot of these players were in that 11, and some were not. Melina was, so she's been good all season. Then defensive line from the right, Hanna Wik was not in the 11 at that time, but she's had a great season. What a talent! We have Berglund from Rosengård. She was in the 11 then as well. We have Nyström from Hammarby, Selerud from Linköping, Olga Ahtinen from Linköping as well, Filippa Kurmark from Häcken, Min Persson from Rosengård, Evelyn Diens from Kristianstad, Amalie Vansgaard from Linköping, and Olivia Skog from Rosengård.
I think that many people will recognize the names in this 11, which I'm very happy about as a Swede, because if you're active on Twitter, you can see these names constantly among a lot of timelines right now, and I'm sure that we will see them elsewhere, even though it's kind of sad to think about also. But I mean, great players overall.
Yeah, truly great players. And what I've done from an episode back or so is they're a bit hard to view, but Mia will post it on Twitter. I did the Spider 11 for all the players except the Goalkeeper in one picture. So you could see a little bit like which characteristics and what they are especially good at. And this spider is not the true decision on why they were chosen, but it gives you like on average how good they are in specific categories. And if we start from the right fullback, Hanna Wik, who's been just great. You can see that she's one of the best players that are in passing. Like her passing ability is top rated. And then she's above average in everything except heading. And it doesn't mean that she's really below average, like in her capacity in heading. It could just be that she's not used in that way. She doesn't have to make that many headers. So if you're close to the center of the circle, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're bad at it. It just means that you're not using that skill very much in your playing style. For example, Emma Berglund is not dribbling the ball that much from center back. I don't think so. Then we have Emma Berglund. Yeah, she scored some goals. She's great in the air, and passing ability very good. Defensive skills, yeah, as well. Great defender. Next to her, we have Eva Nyström from Hammarby that has a very similar spider, except from the goal scoring, and that she has. She's a little way more far out in regarding to the duels, and I think that's she has a bit of a higher duel percentage, but then also that she is playing in a team that has to defend themselves a little bit more than Rosengård. Then Alva Selerud, that usually plays wing back in a free defensive line or a free or five defensive line. She plays wing back, so she doesn't need to defend as much. But you can see that her creativity when it comes to carrying, dribbling the ball, and her passing ability is great. And we're going to look into her numbers more in detail later. And when we talk about the midfield, we just have to take a look at Olga Achtenen's spider that is absolutely unbelievable.
It's all red.
It's all red, and it's been looking at like the entire season, and it's rare. It's not common that a spider looks like that. She's so all round and can be used in many different ways. So yeah, truly great.
She's not a common player in a good way. I must add in this time, because on the screen now you can't see Alva Selerud's spider completely, and not Eva Nyström's as well. But I've posted this picture on Twitter. If you want to see it in full, you can find it on the Twitter account at Playmaker AI.
Nice that you mentioned Mia. Yes, and then we have Mia Persson on the midfield that has scored a couple of goals. She has a very good shot value. Like her expected goals is way lower than the goals she scored, which is very impressive, of course, to do from a midfield position. And then besides that, she's over average almost in everything. If we look at the strikers, we have Amelie Vangsgaard and Evelyn Wiens having a pretty similar spider, except from Evelyn Wiens playing having a bit higher in passing ability. She's making more of those last passes and are generating chances as well. While Olivia Skog has more of the playmaker, offensive playmaker or creator spider, where she is like she's not used in the box with the head as much, but she has a very free role, and both her passing ability and creativity, creating chances, and she can also take care of them very well. She was great last season, and she's in the national team. She's a great player. And then Amelie Vangsgaard, most goals scored.
I must actually say this, but when you see it like this, and you have been following the Damallsvenskan for the season, I mean, this front three, they would be completely deadly to anything to go up against, I can say.
Yeah. You could wonder how this 11 would perform in the Champions League.
Oh yeah, actually that's quite interesting. Yeah, you're right, but I mean, this is like the midfield for me is like, if I would describe it in three words, it's like no one. That's not even 3 words, but no one shall pass. I can see it. It's like a brick wall.
Yeah, it's a brick wall, definitely. Definitely a brick wall. And that creates a lot of creative, like space to be creative for the front three. They can solve the rest. And we know Olga can shoot from a distance as well. So great team. So let's dig into the goalkeeper. Like, you take a look at Melina Luck's number. So Melina Luck has been awarded the goalkeeper of the year from Playmaker. So Playmaker's prize, and as we know, we're the only completely data-based award, and we're very happy to give out these awards, and the players are usually very happy to receive them. So which players have been the best seen to our index in every position. And Melina Luck has the best goalkeeper grade, and she's a great shot stopper. She's saving a lot of chances, and her saved XG percentage is the best in the league. She also has a very high save percentage if you look at the classical numbers, like how many saves she's had compared to the goals she has conceded. Her passing percentage is also one of the highest in the leagues, and it's related a bit to, you can see the average game passes in the middle, and that's because she's making a lot of short passes as well. So compared to other teams, her passes are shorter than most of the teams' goalkeepers.
We promised to mention this also, Jesper, that the shields that you are handing out to the players is the one that we show in this presentation, but it's Swedish. So Årets målvakt 2022, that's actually Goalkeeper of the Year
yes.
in English. So
yes.
A little bit of Swedish language lesson there. But
exactly. And the spiders that are located on the spiders, that's our classical spider that you can find on the platform if you hover over the player. So it's we put them on the shield. And she's also very good in the air. Melina Luck, she has a lot of keeper claims and interceptions where she pick up through balls and crosses and so on. And if you look at the clean sheets, that's maybe more of a team metric, but it can say something about how good the defense in front of her is as well. Like, it's her metric, but it's also like how good of a defense she has in front of her. And you can see on the saves per 90 that they are fairly low, like they're just below average, and that's because she plays in a good team that doesn't allow too many chances. But when they come, she stops them mostly. So yeah, congratulations to Melina on a great season.
Yeah, for sure. Congratulations. But you said something interesting there, because we are going to look at something here. And I can see that can you just turn the graph around on how we show ourselves in this now, because I see that you can't see the two most important names, I would say, because you just said that Melina Luck is playing in a team with a good defense line.
Exactly.
Not to say that Djurgården's backline is not good, because they play in the highest division in Sweden, obviously, but this is actually kind of interesting to see goalkeeper number 2 and 3, because they played for the same team.
Exactly, and they did a great job. Like, this is not the only metric to evaluate a goalkeeper, but it's still a very interesting one. And you have to say that Hedvig Lindahl, she's been in the media a lot, but she's had a good comeback to Damallsvenskan and should be pleased with her season, definitely.
For sure. And like I said, that's Kelsey Doherty, who left Djurgården to play in the NWSL when Hedvig Lindahl arrived after the Euros. But it's quite, I think it's interesting to see that Hedvig Lindahl actually is number 2 in this metric.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we move on to the Defender of the Year. That's maybe the biggest surprise, I would say, for some. I don't know, but she
surprise.
Good surprise. She's had a great season in Hammarby. She's a great possession player, and she's also a very good in her duels and when it comes to defending. So she's a very all-round defender, a very modern defender, I would say. And it's very interesting to see the project that Hammarby is having with their women's team and how they are getting better and how they play. You can see on Evan Eastern Spider here where she stands out, she has very high expected threat for being a defender, second highest in the league actually, and also very good in her challenges. And if we move on to the next page, you can see that when it comes to winning the ball high, when Hammarby does their pressing, or like when they lose the ball, among other centre backs, Evan Nyström is the defender that has won most ball on offensive half per 90. Yeah, very, very good in the high defensive line.
Yeah, I think it's like you say, it might come as a surprise for many who watches the Damallsvenskan, because this is a name where that we don't often hear much about. So I think this is an exciting player.
Yes, and if Eva Nyström would see this, or anyone else in Hammarby, her big spider is on the way, and we're happy to hand it over to you. And yeah, we can look at her progressive actions as well. So this is a map where you have all of her bigger progressive actions. So there's a lot of arrows. I know it could be a bit hard to visualize, but what we can see here is that she's very active on both sides of the pitch. She also has a lot of carries as well. She's not only passing. So you can see that she has the longer carries where she actually takes it from 1/3 on the pitch to the other. And so if she gets empty space, she's not afraid to move the ball, and that creates a lot of value to her team and increases the chance of the team scoring later in the possession chain. So that's one of the reasons that Eva Nyström is so good in possession. And you can also see that she has some passes into the box, and she has some deep passes towards the corner flags. And yeah.
I mean, a graph after a full season should look like this, like a complete mess, but at the same time, it's art.
It's art, yeah.
Yeah, it's art for us who loves football analysis.
I agree. Okay, next slide. We have
surprise.
Årets Mittfältare, or Midfielder of the Year, and Olga spiders are all amazing. This doesn't matter which we show. If you show the classical one on the platform, it's like a pyramid, above average in everything except dribbles. And if you look at the position-based spider here for balancing midfielders, you can see that she has the most gain carry per 90, gain pass per 90. She's also in the top, and final third entries, she's in the top, and she's above average in almost everything. So yeah, she's a great player, and can't say that enough.
No, I mean, if that's a spider to like thrive for, then yeah, it's a great one.
Definitely. And these avatars that you can see, or icons or whatever, Anton Westerberg, our designer, has made as well.
They are actually very similar to how they look in real life.
Yeah, he's a great designer, great artist. He does our work he does these icons a lot for television, for Seymour, if you're looking at football Europa on the weekends in Sweden. So yeah, final third entries, she's number one, and it's not even close to the rest. She has a player trailing, but otherwise she's playing in a different league than the other centre mids. And so yeah,
that's like, because she is like the number 6. She plays as a number 6, so
exactly.
She often drops down very deep to integrate and interact with her own backline. So that's like,
yeah,
that graph you just showed, that tells quite a lot about how she plays.
Yeah, definitely.
And how Linköping uses her.
Exactly. And the big upside with her, like, that you could use her in many different roles. Like, I think she would do great in a number 8 role, considering like how her data looks. One thing that is very interesting is, like, she's plays number 6, as you said, but if you look at shot assists for all center midfielders, those that play as number 8, 10, and as well. Like she has second most shot assists, and with shot assists, that is the assists plus the key passes. So the passes that leads to a shot, she has the second most. So yeah,
we can also mention that Linköping has played with the back three. So Olga has been playing in a double pivot, sort of, with Saori Takarada in Linköping this season.
Yes. And if you look at Challenges 1, we talked about her being having so many sides. You can see that she's top 10 or top 6 when it comes to Challenges 1 per 90 as well. So she's one of the players that wins the most of the balls, and she plays in a top team as well. So yeah, she's very very important in the ball recovering process for Linköping. Sorry.
Oh, that's the corona talking.
Yeah.
We understand, Jesper.
I tested myself negative 2 times, like Saturday the first time. That's just because my parents will let me in when I come visit them in a few days.
You're back in the house. That's okay.
Yeah. And we move on to the attacker or forward of the year, Årets anfallare. And here we look at players that plays as number 9, but also players that play as wingers that play in a 3-4, like a 4-3-3, and they play at the wing or so. And Evelyn Viens has the highest grade of all those forwards. And if we look at her spider is not maybe the large one as Olga, but she doesn't have that amount of actions. But like what she is doing on the pitch, she's doing that very well. Like she's overperforming her goals per 90. That's why her finishing is so high. Like compared to her XG, she's doing great. She's also receiving a lot of great through balls and good passes on the pitch. So she's good at finding spaces and being a good target for the other players. And having a lot of touches in the box, and also like compared to other attackers, her shot assists are very high. So she's delivering a lot of passes to her teammates as well as Tabby Tindell, for example.
And we must mention that Evelyn Viens has won the. I mean, she has made the most assists and goals altogether. So I think officially, if you look at the Damallsvenskan.se, it says that she has, I think, 21 goals, and Amalie Vangsgaard in Linköping, she made 22 goals in total. But if you look at Evelyn Viens, she's like she does it all.
Yeah,
but that's her role also in Kristianstad. So
yeah, that is true, and a lot of that some of that we will see in the next coming slides. So if we talk about her finishing first, you can see the black line here, and the black line is if you have scored the amount of non-penalty goals that our model expects you to, and non-penalty goals, that is what it sounds like. It's the goals that is not from the penalty spot. And you can see that she averaged around 0.6 expected goals per game, but she scores around 0.8 goals. So she has a great turnover. And if you look at her shot map, we can also see that our model expected her to score 16.2 goals per game, but she scored 21, as Mia mentioned. So a great turnover, and you can see on her shot map that she has some goals outside of the penalty area, 3 of them, and then she has like most from the right side or in the penalty area, but she also has some on the left and some very close to the goal.
It's going to be very interesting to see if she gets to play for Canada from now on, because I think she has been. It's been a pleasure to watch a player like this in Sweden. And she has recently extended her contract with Kristianstad's DFF. So, we're going to get to see a lot more of her.
Yeah. And if you look at the how many green and black dots, like shot on target, I don't have that number in the graph, but she has a very high shot on target percentage. So she's very good at placing the ball right. And when the goalkeeper can't save them, she scores. And yeah, you can see that in her turnover. And we talked about her making a lot of assists, and that's something that that is part of the number in expected threat. It's all passes and all carries and dribbles, not only the last pass. But when it comes to generating value in possession, this expected threat model, she is one of the forwards with the highest. There's only a few that has a higher number. Johanna Rytting Kaneryd, for example. So a great player in generating chances. And you can see this if we look at the plot. I took out the highest XT actions she's done, and you can see that there are a lot of passes into the box from the right side, also some from the left. But then she also has these long carries when she's running behind the defensive line or running alongside one. So she has a lot of these long carries, or the central carries just inside of the pitch.
Which means she's also keen on dropping if needed to pick the ball up.
Yeah, both dropping and also standing lined up with the defensive line and getting the through balls, which we could see in her expected threat receiving numbers in the Spider. And we also have one last prize, and that is the best player of the year, but we call it the best player index. So that's actually
this is like a Swinglish. We must say this because this best, that's obviously best
Swedish,
in English as well, but with our funny letter with the dots over. But that was, I haven't seen that before, Jesper.
No.
But and, best player index.
Yeah, Swinglish. Yeah, and so she has the best grade in our database. She has the best database of all the defensive midfielders on the data that we have, and so over if you compare to other seasons as well. So it's she's had a historical season, a great season, and so I can't stress that enough. She's a great player, and it's going to be very interesting to follow her in the future in Linköping or in any other club. And I thought I would show some more of what makes Olga Aaltonen the best player in the league. So she has these high value, the expected threat actions. You can see that she has these really long passes from her sixth position, like on defensive half, but she puts them behind the defensive line towards the right and left wing on the pitch, but also she can also operate in a higher role, like in a playmaker role outside the penalty area in the final third, where she has these passes into the box. And that's something you can see here on her shot, key pass and assists. So she was expected to make 2.4 assists. She made 4 and 14 key passes. So she has had a lot of shot assists as well for being a number 6.
Yeah, she has been if we're going to talk about awareness, or perhaps when you are the number 6, I mean, it's a lot of talk about scanning at the moment, because when she gets the ball, she often scans the pitch very quick to make the decision on where to pass the ball. And I do think that I want to believe that what makes a good number 6 is just that, you link up with your back line, and you are you are responsible to make these kind of passes that we see on that top graph there.
Yeah, I agree. If we take a look instead on her shots, we can see that she scored 5 goals, a lot more than she was expected to, and that's partially because she has these 4 goals outside of the penalty area.
Yeah, and those shots, I mean, if anyone who watches this can find the highlights from Olga Aaltonen's season right now, because some of the shots have been amazing. I mean, she can strike a ball. I will tell you that.
Yeah, and it's also like a great reminder of like, I think sometimes in today's football, like you can get down to that like we should have such an average, like we should have a very high expected goals per shot that maybe makes the team to like only find a position to shoot inside the penalty area or just outside of it, and that you don't take the shots. But the only thing that the most necessary thing is like, how can we get to areas and accumulate so much expected goals as possible so we can get that to turnovers? And you can do that in many different ways. So you can see here that Olga has shot a lot of times outside the penalty area, but she has a great expected goal turnover. So yeah, she's a great example of that. If you have a total expected goals of 0.5 in a game, but you have taken one shot just very close to the goal and missed it, or if you have taken 5 shots just outside of the penalty area, you could have scored 5 times outside the penalty area, but just 1 time here. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like obviously as well when you look at her shot map as a number 6 that I'm sure she has been told to use her good strike whenever she sees the opportunity for it. Yeah. Which obviously is like, because you don't see that very often in the women's game, I must say, with this long range shot. So I think, yeah, again, I can't stress enough, if you are able to find the clips of Olga shooting and scoring, go watch them.
Yeah. And regarding her duels, we can just say that she has a very high, like mostly when she does interceptions, she keeps the ball and she doesn't lose it in the next action. So she recovers a lot of balls for interceptions. She also has a very high, actually, air duel percentage, and she's working all over the pitch. So you can see that she's working all over the pitch. For some reason, she's a bit weaker on the right side. No, I'm just joking, but she's a little bit more red here. But I think that's just a coincidence.
Yeah,
but yeah.
No. we must ask her that.
Yeah, we should ask her that.
Yeah, we should ask her that.
Okay, now we will move on. This is not Olga, so we will take a look at some other players and some other lists for the remainder of the episode. So we will not focus on the 11 necessarily, and we will not focus on the players that have been given awards. So now we'll just look at other players that have been doing good in different parameters. So one player that I thought I would mention that deserves a prize, but she was just outside, is Amelie Vangsgaard in Linköping. And since we just took a look at the shot maps of Olga Ahtinen and Evelyn Viens, I thought it could be interesting to see here that Amelie Vangsgaard has a very high expected goals, the highest in the series on 18.9, which is also the highest per 90. So yeah, very high number. She also scored 3 more goals than expected, which is great, that you can see in the graph below. And she has also scored 2 goals outside of the box, but otherwise she's very, like in the golden zone here, and just outside the goal area, she's very effective.
Yeah, and a very, like traditional number 9. She is supposed to hang around in the box to seek the opportunity to just show up and score, which she has done, obviously, looking at her numbers. But I do think that she also did score 3 hat-tricks this season.
And that's remarkable.
Yeah, for sure. She was the player actually Linköping kind of missed last season, perhaps. Obviously very important as well.
Yeah. So next metric, we will look a bit into expected threat, and we will start with the best passing players based on our expected threat model. And
can you just, before, I know we are like sort of, we have talked about this a lot, but if someone hasn't heard what XT and what XT is for Playmaker, just explain that again, Jesper.
Yeah, that's a great thing that you mentioned it. Hopefully we want more people to watch this, like players and teams in Damallsvenskan that wants summarization on the season, and then it's very good to bring it up again. So expected threat is a model, like instead of looking statistically on shots, like how many goals you should have scored, considering your shots, we are taking into account a lot of more actions. So shots is usually just around 2% of the actions in a game. But if you take a look at the passes and carries and dribbles, they are around 75% of the game. You get a lot of more data, and then you can train that model on historical data and see, like, depending on when a player has moved the ball from position A to B on the pitch, no matter if it's in their own third or if it's in a final third, how much have you increased the chance of your team scoring later in that possession chain? So it's a way of evaluating chance creation and possession value. And so some may be familiar with the expected assist model, that is really just only the final pass, the shot assist, to the player that shoots. But that player model is dependent on the player actually taking a shot. Sometimes the player maybe makes a different decision. It holds the ball and then loses it, or shoots the dribble, and then you're not getting any expected assists. While expected threat model is taking in consideration all actions in the possession, which is very good. And when we look at these bars, we will look at bar plots. We will look into actions that has been made in play. So we're not looking at corners and throw-ins, for example.
And we can also mention that on this, it's a top 10 list, right? That one of the players in this first graph is not playing in the Damallsvenskan anymore. She left in the summer, and that's Elise Stenevik, who went to Everton.
Yes.
So this is also what we mentioned at the beginning with players that shows up in the data like this. They are also performing on the pitch, which means that these players are very valuable to scout, I would say.
Yeah, very, very valuable. And I think that, like, all of these players are players that have that you, like, if you have watched Damallsvenskan a lot, you have noticed these players. So Alva Selerud, for example, it of course still measures the last pass, and usually the hockey assist, as we say, or the shot assist generates a very high expected threat value. And you can see that in Alva Selerud, that has, I think, 34 shot assists all season, and she has the highest value of them all. Then you have a bit of different positions. You have Lisa Klinga in Vittsjö that plays as a fullback, and you have Anna Siki that plays as a central midfielder in Häcken. Olivia Skog that plays as a winger higher up in the field, does most of her action in the final third. And Olga Ahtinen that plays as number 6. And my favorite player, Lisa Bjork.
Yeah, you've mentioned you always get the favorite players. I've been noticing that, but I'm like that as well. So it's not, but I like that. I like that a lot. And Lisa Bjork she's an Umeå player, and unfortunately Umeå got relegated. So they will play in the division below the Damallsvenskan next season in Elite Etta.
Yes, and talking about
here she is again. Here she is again.
I mean, talking about Lisa Björk, she's number 2. So Jonna Rytting Connery is number 1 by a margin, but she did just play half of the season, but she still played enough to get into this top list. So it's since she played more than half of the season in minutes, although she left after the Euros.
And we can say this again. Obviously, top 10, you will see names that will get picked up by bigger clubs. And in Johanna Rytting Conrad's case, it's like one of the biggest clubs in Europe because she went to Chelsea. And I think what we are seeing here, I think even if she hasn't played all games for Chelsea yet, I'm sure that fans that have seen her play in Chelsea can relate to why she is the number one in a metric like XT carries per 90.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the other players in this list, like Evelyn Viens, that was awarded the best attacker. She's had a great season. We looked at her metric, also the swarm plot there, that where a few players more were ahead of her, but then in that plot we had a little bit lower minutes. I had 750 that I usually use to scout players. And then, Mimmi Larsson, Tabby Tindell that plays with Evelyn Viens in Kristianstad, Stina Lennartsson in Linköping, Swedish national players there, 9 and 10, Madeleine Janogy and Olivia Skog. So, yeah. Great girls.
Moving on,
and then we can summarize it, and we can look at the players that has the higher values overall. Usually you have a bit more passers, and that's usually because you generate more value through passing, because you can pass the ball faster a longer distance, and there's more passes than carries as well, generally in football. So this is the top list. We have Alva still in the top, Anna Sik in number 2. You can see Lisa Bjork here in number 5. Hanna Wik, that was in the 11. Also a great youngster in number 6. And Olga there, player of the year in number 10. So, and it doesn't matter really which metric you show. Olga is always in the top list.
Yeah, and we can actually stop here a little bit, because this is also interesting. If we move from top to bottom at this list, to just watch which team they are playing in. So Alva, we're going to go from the number 1 to the 10.
Yeah.
So it's Alva Selerud, plays in Linköping FC, Anna Tsiki in BK Häcken, Lisa Klinga in Vittsjö. Johanna Rytting Kaneryd was also playing in Häcken when she played here. Lisa Björk in Umeå. Hanna Wik, BK Häcken. Olivia Skog, FC Rosengård. Elise Stenevik, Eskilstuna United. Stina Lennartsson, Olga Ahtinen, Linköping FC. So what is kind of like interesting here is that we actually have 3 players on this list that doesn't played for a top team, as we would call them. So it's Vittsjö, Umeå, obviously, because they got relegated. So I would say that teams that are about to scout and perhaps sign players should perhaps look at Lisa Björk a little more in close and in depth.
Yes. Yeah, we move on. I don't remember which list that comes next, but we'll see. Yeah, we will. We'll look at. We will look at 2 players here that were number 1 and 2 in expected threat. So we can take a look at how they have done their highest expected threat actions. So actions that has increased the chance of scoring with 2% or more. And you can see that Anna Sik is working. She's played in different roles in different games, of course, but you can see that she has these long passes from the own offensive half, but she also has a lot of actions from the right wing into the box. And Alva Selerud, if you look at hers, except from some of the long passes from the central pitch, it's like they're all generated exactly from the same area. You have the outer corridor in the final third.
We don't perhaps need to mention this, but she is left-footed as well. So you can actually kind of see that in this graph.
So and there's a lot of them, those passes.
Yeah, and I'm sure Amalie Vangsgaard has been very happy to receive them inside the box as well.
Yeah. Okay, shot assists. So I mentioned that shot assist is the thing that bases the expected assist model, but it's only a small percentage of the passes in the expected threat model, though it's passes that usually generate a very high expected threat model, but not necessarily. But if we look at the players that has had the highest shot assists per 90, we see Alva Selerud at number 1. She almost averages 2 passes per game that leads to a teammate taking a shot, most often Amalie Vangsgaard. And then we have Johanna Rytting Kaneryd, Olivia Skog, Evelyn Wiens, Stina Lennartsson. Yeah, top players here as well. But not necessarily the same players. We didn't see Matilda Winberg in any of the expected threat top lists, or Yuka Momiki, for example. But they have a lot of they are very high up in the shot assist list.
Yeah, so the 3 players we haven't seen in your 4 players actually. That's Clara Markstedt, who also plays for Vittsjö as Lisa Klinga, and Yuka Momiki, Linköping, Emilia Larsson and Matilda Winberg plays both in Hammarby.
Yes. And if we take a look at the shot assists instead, we have Olivia Skog here in the top. You can see that she has a more of a free role, although she maybe plays a lot more on the left wing. You can see that she has 2 corners that has led to assist, and then she's operating a lot. Most of her passes are from the left side, but she also had a lot of passes here, or key passes outside of the box. So, and she was expected to make 8 assists, a total of 35 shot assists, and she made 9 assists. And if you make more assists than expected assists, that's not necessarily really your gain. It's more of how your teammate has evaluated the shooting opportunities. If we look at the shot assist of Alva Selrud, I think I said a lower number before. She had 45, so 10 assists and 35 key passes, which is a lot.
Yes,
and,
that's a lot.
And you can see also here that you have a lot of them from acting from the left side. Yeah.
That left foot could be worth much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
in so many ways.
And I'm pretty sure we have a future national team play. Like, she's playing in under 23 now, right? But she's probably in the future she will be playing for the A team as well. And I also made this graph. This is one of my favorite graphs. So we have the finishing value. So the finishing value is a machine learning value on if you're having a high finishing value, you're generating a lot of shots, but you're also doing very well on them. So you're overperforming your expected goals. That's how you end up high. And you can actually be below 0 if you've had a few finishes and you haven't made a goal on those chances. You get a negative value. And then you have the expected threat per 90. So you have the chance creation here on the right. And then we have these dotted lines that are the median values for both these metrics of all players that have played 1,000 minutes or more. And we can see that Johanna Rytting Kaneryd is way ahead here.
She's there again, even though she's not still.
Yeah, and we have Olga as well, Evelyn Wiens, Amalie Vangsgaard here, that also has some shot assists and passes. So she's also actually generating chances. So she's moving into this dual threat area where Wiens definitely is at. We can see Kulashi also being in the dual threat zone, but she's a little bit behind. Rubensson, that was in the 11, and Millie Gale, that has had great seasons, but weren't in the 11. Any player you want to bring up here, Mia?
Yeah, actually, Walker, Alyssa May Walker in IFK Kalmar, I think. I've actually written a little bit about her when I've been writing about the Damallsvenskan, because I think she made the difference among the bottom teams that actually got IFK Kalmar to stay up in the Damallsvenskan, and I must say also that was their first season in the Damallsvenskan, and they made it because obviously football is a team sport. I must mention that again, even though it's pretty obvious. But she scored quite a lot of goals to play in one of the bottom teams. So also a player to look out for.
Yeah, definitely.
Then also we must mention Sofia Bredgard.
Yeah,
the young Dane that went from Linköping to FC Rosengård, and she's only 20 years old, and I do think that she will become one of Denmark's greatest players in the future. Actually, I mean, she's been brilliant for FC Rosengård, and I do think that if I would say anything about her, I feel that she has been doing so much good for FC Rosengård in crucial parts of games. Like she scored to get them through into the group stage of the Champions League, because when FC Rosengård played SK Bram in the Champions Path.
Yeah. And I mean, she's a player that could have been in the 11. She had like a grade that was good enough for the 11, but she didn't play the enough amount of minutes to make it in the 11. But like next season, when she will play for a longer time in Rosengård, she could very well be there.
So for sure.
Sorry again. We will look a little bit into defensive. So we will look into a little bit like here's the challenges won per 90, and then it says PADJ. So that is possession adjusted. So we have or adjusted the values here to possession. So if a player plays in a team that is defending a lot, it's common that a player playing as a central midfielder has a higher amount of challenges than a player playing a team that owns the ball more. So this is a way of like removing that possession difference and trying to look at the players regardless on how much they defend. And if we make this top list, we have the top 3 here. We have players that plays in more dominant teams. What would you say, Mia?
Yeah, for sure, because we talked about it before when we went through the slides, and these players play all kinds of different positions. Like for example, Nelly Karlsson, she's a center back in a back 3 for Linköping, but Pauline Hammarlund, she's a forward for BK Häcken. And then you have Carly Wickenheiser, who is the number 6 in Kiev Örebro. And Alice Ahlberg and Alexandra Lobanova, they play for Brommapojkarna, who is one of the bottom teams. And I mean, obviously you have top teams and bottom teams here, which is kind of, that's also interesting to see, because the mix of top and bottom teams, I think, says that you have to defend and play well, even though you play in the top team in the Damallsvenskan.
Yeah, I mean, ball recovery is one of the biggest key stats that you need to be able to be good at to win games, and you can see that in this graph. And it like here you have all the challenges. So some people are winning their challenges on the central midfield. Some of them are winning them in the defensive box. In the offensive box, they're doing it with air duels, or they're doing it on the ground with slide tackles and so on.
Yeah, and then you have players here like Charlene Novotny.
Yeah.
Can you go back just a little bit? For example, and she plays in IFK Kalmar, and Olivia Holm is one player from Umeå. So it's like this is interesting, I think.
I agree. And if we look at the different duels that the players have made on the top players here from Linköping, Sauri Takarada and Nelly Karlsson, you can see that, as you said, Mia, before when we looked through this, that Sauri Takarada has played in the back and she's played in the midfield, and you can see that on her dual map here, that it's all over the pitch, really.
It's not that Nelly Karlsson doesn't like the right-hand side. She just happens to play on the left. So and if exactly, and Nelly and both of these maps are very green.
you could think that the air duel percentage of 55 and duel percentage of 49 sounds low, but the average is much lower than that. So it's those are good numbers. And like different platforms could have different definitions as well. So like on Playmaker, the definition of winning a duel is that you recover possession or keep possession. So that's the key thing with air duel or with any duel.
Yeah.
And the last slide. I think we've been doing this for an hour.
I love the headline on this. I must say, it just happens to wrap it up quite brilliantly.
Yes.
Kudos to you, Jesper, for just creating that headline.
And here I've taken out the players in Damallsvenskan that are born in 2002 or later. So players that are 20 years old or younger, so teenagers mostly. Some of them have turned 20. And I have sorted them on the highest play rank rating. And Hanna Wik made 11, but also to be mentioned is that Anna Sandberg in Häcken, she played in KIF Örebro before the summer. She was the second highest rated left back, so she could very well have been in the 11 as well. So it could have been all Häcken there.
So we must say that Häcken, I do believe that Häcken will be pleased with the signing of Hanna Sandberg.
Yeah, definitely.
Anna Sandberg, sorry.
Definitely, and they have the future there on the. They have the futures, or they will get a lot of money for them. So it's a win-win situation for Häcken there with their young fullbacks. Vilma Koivisto in Umeå, that is a great central defender, a little bit like Olga. She can do both. She can win duels, but she's also very important in Umeå's passing. And to make this list, I could say also that you should have played 750 minutes or more. So there could be very exciting players that is not on this list, and then they have played less than that. We have,
but also we must mention this, that when you say that, it's quite impressive of these youngsters to been having that many minutes for their respective team.
Yeah, I mean, like Bea Sprung, like she's 17 years old. She's number 5 on this list. She's the best forward. She's 17 years old. When I was 17, I played in Division 3 and dreamt of being a professional football player. I was so far from this level. So, I mean, it's...
And here you are, Jesper. Here you are.
Yeah, now I'm a professional data analyst. So, how things can turn. I did not have the quality. I'm not one of those guys that said I got injured and didn't make it. I didn't have the quality to make it.
You have other qualities, yes, sir. That's
I'm better with numbers.
More than good. Yeah, that's more than good enough.
And I mean, here we have so many interesting players. Sophie Bregard and Lisa Bjork that we talked about, and it's just remember these names, and I think these players will be even better in the upcoming season, and I hope that we will see a lot of them in Damallsvenskan next season as well, and that they don't leave too early.
No, and I'm sure that 1 year from now, if we do a PlaymakerTV episode, I'm sure a lot of these names will be in the top 10 list across all metrics, maybe even in the best 11 of the season, or perhaps one of them might make it as best player of the year in the Playmaker index.
Yeah, you don't know. And I also have a teaser before we end this episode, and it's this avatar column, and that's a way that we use at Playmaker to, instead of just using the old-fashioned positions, we have a model that predicts the playing style or the play role that a player plays. So it's another way of describing the player, and also like often teams that we work with don't necessarily look for a classic player regarding to the position. They maybe look at a player that is a playmaker or a target forward or a defensive-minded fullback or whatever. So they and then we can offer them these avatar roles, so they can scout for that instead. And I think that would be a great episode in the future to just go through that avatar metric and guide you through it.
Yeah, who doesn't love avatars? I mean, I'm all for it. But are you satisfied with what we have come up with here?
Yeah, I think it was a great episode. Like when I started making this episode, I thought we would look at some team spiders, so stuff as well. But I thought it was so much exciting things to take a look at when it comes to the players in Damallsvenskan. So we can do that sometimes in the future, maybe. And I
maybe
hope
ahead of the season, like
ahead of the season could be good
as
well. And we can look at the teams that has been promoted from Elite Ettan as well.
Oh yeah, we must do that. That's
so
the teams that are promoted ahead of the next season is right now because we have a qualification coming up at the end of November. But as for now, it's IFK Norrköping and Växjö actually. So interesting. But let's wrap this episode up, and we will see you again in about 2 weeks. And we are gonna dive deep into some individual players. Perhaps it could be Swedish national team players that plays in the European leagues. We will dive more deep into that. Maybe we can even show some clips while we talk about data as well during those episodes, because I think that's interesting to talk about and to see.
Definitely.
We'll leave it with that. And Jesper, take care of that cough.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. Sorry for you that have listened to my cough. And thank you for watching. Spread the episode, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you're interested in working at Playmaker AI, check out our Twitter and or social media for the roles that we have out at the moment. So yeah, thank you for watching. Take care.
Bye.